So I'd say the biggest issue or challenge in our industry is our content consumption behavior. And that's tied to our reading culture.
Yes.
And our demand for local content. So the reading culture is low.
Yeah.
And it's skewed towards social media. We do read.
Yeah.
And I often tell people, it's very wrong when people say Africans don't read, because we do read. We read Facebook, we read Twitter, we read other forms of media. But then there's that skew. And then there's also now the issue of demand of local content. So we consume a lot of our Western content, which isn't bad, but I think we need to now look inwards and decide this is what we want to do. You know, critique our books. If our books aren't up to par, then how do we get them to par? Exactly.
I like something you've said. Of course, it's a growing publishing industry in Kenya and in East Africa. But then we also need now the community to look at the work and critique and say, this was not up to the standard. So give feedback. Let's improve on that, because even the Western community, they are where they are very high publishing standards, but they're there because they started from somewhere.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I will borrow that, what you've just said. Just critique and tell us to come up to par.
Yes.
All right. Okay. What has been the most rewarding thing for you?
I think for me, every single moment we have done a book and you know the author is happy with the work, that's a huge win. Because again, the emotive journey that we have to take, because it's always a back and forth. I like this, I don't like this, change this, I want it to look like this. So every time that happens, that's a huge win. Second win would be when we listen to feedback from readers of our authors. That's another big win, because that means someone is getting value from that. So we're actually very lucky in our industry. We get wins from two different sides. Different sides. The people who author and the readers themselves. So those are two huge wins, I'd say, I experience.
Awesome. The greatest assumption here is that being a publisher, you also read.
Yes.
So to ask, if you say no, just like cut the camera.
Yes.
What do you read? What's your preferred reading?
I right now I'm reading a lot of entrepreneurship books. And I have to say, I tried doing the one book a month, one book a week challenge. And I actually did. Last year, but I did 32 books.
Wow.
But then the challenge, I failed though, because I needed to do 52 because there are 52 weeks in a year. But I realized I couldn't remember the content in these books. So this year I took a different approach. I decided, let me do 3 books. Actually, or 2 books, but then one came up much later. So this year I'm reading The E-Myth by Michael E. Garber, and it's an amazing book about the essence of entrepreneurship. And then the other book I'm reading is Lean Startup by Eric Ries, and it focuses on build, measure, learn, and just being at a place where you're not looking at a perfect product or service. You're looking at building as quickly as possible. You measure what your customer is saying and then learn from it and improve it. So basically your minimum viable product. And then what came up probably midway through this year was The 8th Habit by Stephen Covey. And it's such an amazing character building book, and it's also it's leaning towards more of leadership as opposed to the entrepreneurship one. So those are my key reads this year.
And you're going to maximize and get the most out of them.
Definitely. I can give you those books.
I know, I can just hear the technical language. It's just, I need to pull out my business management degree to just understand what he's saying. All right. How are you influencing your community?
So again, I'd probably go back to what I said in the beginning about having this need to want to solve problems at the root, and trying to understand that, because 1,000 hacking of the leaves, you just need one hacking of the root. And so I came up with an initiative called the Problem Solvers Initiative, PSI. And it's interesting how it started because I wanted to focus on campus-going students. Yeah. But I fell flat on my face. Yeah. Because these guys are busy. Yeah. Very busy.
Exams and classwork.
Exactly. Yeah. So much on their plate. Yeah. But then, so something interesting happened, and a friend of mine who owns a rehab or runs a rehab told me, come and do it at my place. Yeah. And the participants in the rehab, these are people who are being helped to get out of addictions. Yeah. And I didn't know how that would go. Yeah. Interestingly though, we are out of 14 sessions. This week we're on session 7. Wow. And
congratulations.
Thank you. We have talked about some very interesting concepts. I'm talking about unit economics, operations. Yeah. We've talked about, this week we're doing sales and marketing. And the interesting thing is, because when I got into it, the idea was I cannot give these guys very concentrated content. So how do I break it down? Speak in Sheng, just make sure whatever is important.
So the technical things you're telling me here, you just put them in Sheng.
Those are to prove that I know it.
Yes, but so you can break it down.
Exactly, because the point is for it to be relevant to them, for the experience to be relational, and for them to retain the content as long as possible. Yeah. So, something as complex as unit economics and being in a position where you can price your unit. Yeah. We just focus on the key things, your capital investment or the capital you need, your fixed costs, your variable costs, and then just really explain those things, show it on a blackboard and really explain them, and then not touch on too many other complex things. Yeah. And we do pitches just for me to be able to see where we are, and they blew me away. Yeah. The last time we did a pitch, probably 2 weeks ago, they blew me away. So for me, that's our way to touch the community. Yeah. And we look forward to making it something that you can put out in other such institutions.
Wow. Yeah. Excellent. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Fun questions.
Yes.
So if you were to invite a Christian African author, who would that be?
And actually one of the person I would choose is one of your authors. It's actually Nelly Kaguru.
Yay! Nelly unaitwa.
and the reason I'd actually pick her would be because I admire the fact that she's doing what she's doing in terms of the radio, and getting to speak, especially directly to young people, about the spiritual transformation. Yeah. So personally, I have so many authors I'd pick, but if I'd pick one, it would be her, because I really admire what she's doing.
And she has 2 radio stations. So
she has Lulu and Pulse. I follow.
Nelly kuja hapa sasa.
I follow these things.
Amazing. And she's done an amazing book. We've just reviewed
Accountability.
it. Yes, Accountability. It's an amazing book. Yes. And even for the rehab, what you're doing there, that's a form of accountability. True. True. Where you're saying, I'm struggling in this, and it's not even about the things we struggle, even the things we're doing well. We need to come together and say, I am really doing well in this, or I'm struggling in this. I want you to know this is what I am doing, so that you can ask me 2 years from now, how far have I come? 2 months from now, how far have I come? So really amazing. I'm so happy about that. Nelly is a friend, so I am like, a friend has been picked. Okay. Yes. So you've talked about the 8th Habit as the Christian book that you're reading. Yes. By an African. Which book are you? African Christian.
My goodness. I would struggle with that question, because currently my focus would be, and I've read Nelly's book.
Oh, you
so
have.
I'd probably go back to that. Yeah. And that's maybe lacking a bit of just something different. Yeah. But I consume a lot of books. I think for me, maybe the challenge would be the books I consume and that we're publishing are not just Christian books. So they are a bit all-rounded. So based on the question, I'd probably just go back to Nelly. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. What do you wake up to in the morning on a daily basis?
So basically, how my day looks like. I'll wake up, and I'm always so grateful just waking up.
Yeah.
I think just maybe because
That's
of
interesting. I've never had it like that. Like you're just grateful, just waking up.
Yeah.
You're just grateful. That's
I'm just
amazing.
Grateful waking up. It's a huge thing. The small things I feel I do that I always say thank you for. And because for me they are big things. So whenever I wake up, I'll always be grateful. It hits me. When I wake up, the fact that I'm conscious hits me.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy. Thank you, God, for allowing me to be conscious. And then I'll hit some coffee. So the coffee is just to rev up my engines and
is that
my
thing
brain.
For real?
What do you mean? Yeah, it is.
It works.
It works. And also,
I know there are coffee people here, so
it does.
Yeah.
Coffee is amazing. Coffee is one of those amazing drinks that is very helpful.
Yeah.
The other reason it's helpful is because, and maybe this you'd need to check Google and other medics would clarify, but coffee has a way of breaking down your fat. And specifically your fat, especially when you're working out, and I'm a workout guy.
I think you should advertise for Java. Java is a guy who can advertise for you.
Yeah, so coffee is good.
Yeah.
So coffee, and then most of my mornings are editing, design work, just looking at my clients' content.
Yeah.
Or I'll then create content for the program I'm doing, the PSI.
Yeah. And
then afternoons, either I'm doing the same or I'll meet my clients. So I rarely meet. Most times I don't meet them in the morning. I do have one or two, but most of my meetings are in the afternoon. And then I'll hit the gym from around 5:30 to 8:30 every day except Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then once I'm back home, I'll chill, watch a documentary, either meditate or read a book, and then I call it a day.
And then you're grateful again the following day for waking up.
Yes, when I wake up, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm up.
Yeah, so, I'm grateful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll be asking you to give a message of encouragement to our authors. But I have 2 books I wanted us to go through.
Okay.
So the first book, very amazing cover, absolutely amazing. One of the best, even in terms of the feel, you know. So we have Heart of Surrender. It's a fiction book. Love itself is not about conquest, but rather about surrender. Let me tell you the story.
Yes.
As I tell our listeners, the story of Hannah is in many ways our story from beginning to end. The characters honor their part in bringing alive the heart-wrenching decisions that we sometimes have to make when life throws us a curveball. What is it that takes us through those moments? So maybe I'll give you a book so that you can have a look at it and ask you, has life ever thrown you a curveball?
Yes, I think for you when you ask that question, yes.
Yes.
Definitely. I mean, probably all the balls are curveballs, and that's why when I wake up in the morning, even waking up is a curveball because I'm like, I'm awake. Yeah. So yes, it has.
Yeah. And when you're going through a challenging time, how do you get yourself up from whatever, you are expecting A and then B happens? What gets you through such moments?
I think an understanding that what God wants for me is actually good. Yeah. So, and then I think for me the beginning of solving a problem is understanding what really is the problem. Yeah. So going again to the root cause. Yeah. So if something happens, I think for me it's very important to understand, okay, what made this happen? And then once I'm able to understand what made it happen, then we're able to now solve the problem in a sustainable way. Because if I keep hacking at the leaves of the problem. I'm not tackling the root of the problem.
Awesome. Yes. I think after all this, the thing I will remember with you is forget about the leaves.
Exactly.
The problem is in the root, so just go and focus on the root.
Exactly.
Okay. Awesome.